Welcome back to Squawking Dead. Cue normal intro in 3, 2, 1. I feel like you, me, and Carol are trapped in a particularly suspenseful set of episodes, taking place in both the present and the past. We've now witnessed the murder of both Mel and Ennis, proving to us that maybe their philosophy of always being on the move wasn't as great a strategy as they thought it would be. In actuality, they oddly proved Madison right all along, that being inside the walls, upholding the values of charity and goodwill, might have actually been the way to go. It's funny, our instinct, given our history with The Walking Dead, is to swear up a storm when we see abject hopefulness that oozes from Madison, the Clark clan, and the rest of our group. But at the end of the day, isn't this the message Carl tried to impart upon us anyway? Isn't this the vision Rick and Michonne tried to uphold when they started settling into Alexandria after surviving so much brutality in the wild? In the end, the main Fear the Walking Dead characters seemed to get it right away, without having to get into two excruciatingly drawn out all-out war seasons, and I think I know why. Unlike most of the characters on The Walking Dead, the war that every character has been fighting even before we meet them is the one they've been waging within themselves. The apocalypse merely nudged them over their initial obstacles, forcing them to finally confront this inner war, taking casualties along the way as they trudge through the conflict after conflict, facing it all head-on. And in Season 4, at least in the past, they've beaten it. And maybe Mel was right to come when he did, saying from the moment we met him that they now have to take their growth and test it against the next level of turmoil and see how they hold up. Almost every one of them falters, some more than most, but in the end, they find a way back. Even Madison, in this episode, slips, but realizes her mistakes and the beauty in her wrongness. Now, I know we don't see eye to eye on this, but that's why we're called Squawking Dead. We say our piece, sometimes meet in the middle, and ask tough questions, like we're about to ask soon. And like every episode, I hand the mic over to the ammo in my gun, the knife to my throat, and the nails safely hammered in my 2x4s, Carol.
Well, that is true. This is called Squawking Dead because we may or may not have similar opinions. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
That's right, you hate the Clarks.
I do. Oh, God. You know what? I feel horrible saying that because I know a lot of people would be like, you're not super into it. You weren't really into it from the beginning. Yeah, that's true.
That's very true.
That's very true.
Now, that aside, all that.
That aside.
3 years.
This is the thing. I went into this episode with the whole, how is John Dory? What's happening with John Dory? And this episode really had very little to do with John Dory. Essentially, he's in the same position he was.
Lying down.
Lying down, still in the same position, life hanging in the balance. Right. Nothing got resolved with John Dory. Yeah. But it was my main kind of focus going into this episode. So I was kind of like, okay, fine, I get it. We're getting more background. It was interesting in the sense that it kind of informed me to like, okay, this season is going to be about a much bigger issue rather than this group versus that group. Because like you said, Ennis and Mel are eliminated. They're gone.
Yeah. So what else is there, right?
And I've mentioned this before, the whole comparison to Garrett and Terminus, where you
Gareth,
kind of
right.
thought, Gareth, yeah, where you thought it was going to be a much more formidable threat, and it was essentially eliminated in a couple of episodes.
You get like 2 or 3, right?
Really.
Was there a season in between that, by the way, if I remember? I feel like there was. Like, they end off meeting at Terminus?
Yes, they ended off at Terminus at the season finale of, I want to say it was season 4. Yeah, I think it was 4. And then the season premiere of 5 was basically they went into Terminus and blew it up.
Right. Carol shows up and all hell breaks loose.
Yes, exactly. Carol bazookaed Terminus and blew it up and happened all in one episode. And then I think that they weren't fully killed off, and that happened in the next episode. But really, it took like 2 or 3 episodes, and that was it. And it was done. So I'll be curious to see what the bigger story is, because it's clearly not just about like us versus them. It's like, no, there's more to this. There's only so many times you can do the same trope of like us versus them. My hope is like with the next episode to understand a little bit more of like the specifics to what happened, to understand what is pushing Alicia to act the way that she's acting, to understand better, like what is your driving force? What happened to bring you to this point? Because to be honest, I kind of felt bad for Mel.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Yeah, you start to realize his humanity.
Yeah, and I've said this before, and I think I said this in the last episode, there was a level of anguish when he came out of that van and all of that. So, I mean, he's gone now, obviously, but it's like I didn't see him as this one-dimensional figure necessarily that's just like, I'm evil and I want to get your stuff. It's like...
Right.
I think that there was a lot more depth to him than that. So I'm not understanding where this bloodthirst is coming from necessarily from Alicia. I mean, I'm guessing it's coming from some something that happened, but I don't know yet, and we don't know yet exactly the specifics of what happened. But for me, I'm already attached to John Dory and Naomi and Althea and Morgan, that crew. Right. If I have to hear Strand talk one more time about how Madison saved him, I'm like, okay, I get it, dude. I get it. Yes, she saved you.
But do you get it? Did you know the evolution of Strand? No.
I know.
You know what's interesting about that? That is one of the few things that you will not really get from like a recap, is basically, I don't want to say hating Strand, but not really liking him. And what's interesting about the first 3 seasons, I mean, like, you're talking about starting from season 5 of The Walking Dead, or midway into season 5, and we haven't met Negan. We haven't really gotten to sympathize with an enemy, not really. Negan was the first step to that, sort of.
Right, yeah.
So you don't really embrace some of the poorer qualities of our heroes. So when Fear the Walking Dead came out, and you meet a character like Strand from the very beginning, almost. He's slippery. He's kind of slimy, kind of a con man. And I mean, he literally was a con man. But yeah, and he has like loose morals, and there's and it takes him a really, really, really long time to show affection. I mean, he shows it here and there. He shows it right from the beginning with Nick, because he gets the kind of way he needs to be to get what he wants. And he's like, yeah, this kid's got it. This kid's got it in this kind of event, this kind of apocalypse kind of thing. And this is kind of the observation I want to make from the beginning, because it is kind of significant to see Strand's evolution, because you see him going from this kind of guy who really, really only cared about himself at first.
Self-preservation.
Right. And then moving on to caring about himself and Madison, and by extension, obviously, I guess what's good for Madison, meaning her kids, is good for me, so I guess that's cool too. And then you get to this guy who is really, really into being more than who he is, maybe because Madison saved him, sure, but it's very interesting to see. And then now there's a bit of kind of subservience on his part when it comes to assisting Alicia and Luciana with what they need in the present. And what's interesting about that is that it's like, I am all about realizing what you want done. And not only that, is that Strand has never picked up a weapon in the series. He's never hurt or killed anybody. I mean, I don't even remember. I mean, it must have happened, but I can't recall him killing a walker.
So he's never got his hands dirty, basically.
Not at all. And that's his thing. His thing has always been, wear the suit, let other people figure out a way to get other people to do your dirty work. Basically, all throughout the series. And that's it. That was his MO. But now he's getting into the action. He's firing weapons. He's being helpful. It's like he took all the good things in the past, like all his helpfulness, all his goodwill and charity, and all the stuff that he's learned from Madison, being a better person inside the walls because she's around, that sort of thing. And he's gone next level in getting his hands dirty, trusting himself to be a good person or whatever it is. But now he's doing this twisted thing of vengeance. So I think the point that I really wanted to make with this was, because we caught up to the world of The Walking Dead, we started to like our protagonists a little less, seeing the kind of ugliness that they can get to, and we start sympathizing with people like Negan, let's say. And then all of a sudden we actually kind of get Strand after all these years, that this is the way you kind of need to be. And so when you see him, first of all, pack away that getaway car, the backup contingency in case the walls of the stadium fell. But you and me were like, oh yeah, I get that. That makes sense. But if you took us 3 years ago, we'd be like, oh, what a villain, what a shitty guy, that sort of thing. But we're conditioned a certain way. So
I agree.
It's very interesting how we've changed, and we've finally caught up to Strand. So there's a little element in us that can really get the series now. We're finally at a point where we can get him.
I understand where you're coming from. And I guess I think it's hard because it's like they introduce these new characters that are so, again, like these over-the-top kind of caricatures that are just so darn likable. I wonder if the writers even knew that this was going to play out this way.
Like the impact of these new characters.
The impact of these new characters.
I've been wondering about that myself.
I wonder if they knew that the characters were going to take off the way they did, because John Dory has become like a fan favorite in very little episodes. He has accumulated quite a following. Same thing with Naomi. Althea, not as much, but I don't think that there's been as much coverage of her in the show yet. So I think that's why. But these new characters have like really given the original characters a bit of a run for their money. So, and I don't know if that was something that they had considered.
No, and I wonder, because it's something like if I had Andrew Chambliss in the room and I had to ask him one question, I'd be like, did you know that this was going to have the effect that it was? introducing these characters. And I get it. They're kind of introducing these characters as a foil. I mean, I think most characters on Fear the Walking Dead are a foil for the main characters. It's kind of like something I said in the first or second episode, is that I feel like the most real people we will ever see on The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead are the Clarks and maybe Strand, and Luciana. They're like real people. They're as real as they get. And I feel like everything around them, from the apocalypse to the people that they meet, they're kind of ridiculous. And there's a quality to that too. Like they may be real, but they have kind of they have realer struggles, they have realer personalities. They react to things probably much in the way that we would, if we had their damage, that kind of thing.
No, I agree. And I think it's the kind of mirror that in general people don't like
hate.
That we hate. No, absolutely. Because I mean, it's the same reason that we get all up in arms or whatever with Eugene. I'm like, listen, I've said it many a times. It's like, we all want to
he's a bit ridiculous. Like he's even more ridiculous than the Clarks.
He's a bit ridiculous. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, look, I think everybody loves to kind of think that they'd be Daryl. I'm like, no, but the reality is you'd be more Eugene than Daryl. The reality is that you're not going to be like on a bike, one-arming, shooting walkers. Like, I mean, come on now, dude. Like, let's be real.
With a motorcycle gun.
Exactly. Like, come on. Listen, we'd all love to be cool like that, but
yeah, I don't even know if Norman Reedus is cool like that.
I know, you know what I think he is though.
I don't know. I can always see him at home and on a couch with his reading glasses on.
Do you know that him and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, they live upstate New York, not the Hudson Valley, like
the Duchess?
I think so. Yeah, like further up north, like
or maybe like Ulster. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah, because they have land and property, and they just like ride their motorcycles all around.
I wonder if they're next door neighbors.
No, they are.
Snap. Okay.
They are. He bought property. I mean, it's not like tiny little suburbs, so it's like they're neighbors, but there's obviously store.
They live in adjacent farms.
Exactly, like adjacent farms. Jeffrey Dean Morgan has like 100-acre farm.
They probably have drone security too.
Crazy. Yeah, no, but they like ride their bikes all around and whatever. So it's like, I think that really is who he is. The only difference between Daryl and Norman Reedus is that Norman Reedus, according to Jeffrey Dean Morgan in interviews he's done, he says, no, he is very talkative. Like, don't think that he's like on the show where he just grunts and snorts and doesn't talk. Like, he speaks.
A lot.
So
much that they had to create a TV show around it.
Side note, I actually saw some, there's always a side note with me, in the wake of all the news of Andrew Lincoln and all that, and the news that Daryl would likely be stepping up, there have been all these kind of clips and things from like, seasons before, and I forgot about some of this stuff. I had completely forgotten about it because it's been seasons ago.
Yeah. The
whole Daryl Beth dynamic and Daryl and Meryl, and like, I kind of remember, but I kind of forgot certain things, I was like, oh man, he had some dialogue. Well,
yeah, that's the thing. You know what's interesting is that I feel like there should be a compilation out there of every time Daryl's spoken. And yeah, there's some dialogue, but I feel like it'll fill up only like a minute plus max.
Sad.
It's more funny than it's sad to the point of being very comical.
Right, exactly.
Like it's sad.
It's so sad. It's
for
comical.
Us. Yeah, sad for us, but like funny for a viral video. Which I mean, admittedly, like now that I've said it, I should probably do it.
It might exist.
If it doesn't, I'll just make it. I have Amazon Prime. I have Fear the Walking Dead on demand.
There you go.
Let's do this.
Let's make it happen. Yeah, no, gosh. But no, I mean, I think that the Clarks, like you said, it's a mirror to a more realistic portrayal of how the human element would react under these circumstances.
Yeah. A lot closer, let's put it that way.
A lot closer. No, for sure. A lot closer.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, there's something else to that too, though. Okay, I'm going to give you the scene that really nails it.
Okay.
Is after the firefight in the beginning, and they figure out, hey, where is the one place that they can take John Dory with any sort of supplies? It's the three of them. You can see their three heads in a row. They're looking like not determined and mean and whatever, but they're like very cold. Their faces are very cold and they're very dark. They're like, yeah, I know the one place that they be, Strand says, sort of. And they head out, and it's watching them have this kind of, they look like Terminators. They look T-1000s.
We need to know what in the world happened to basically push these people to this point, because right now you're making me feel anguish and sympathize for who was supposed to be, your villain. I actually felt bad for him being so Alicia, because I'm like, I don't understand where your rage is coming from, especially because he warned you all.
Yeah, why the rage, bruh?
Why the rage? Yeah, like, I mean, he warned you all that his brother was coming and this is what was going to happen. And he basically, like, ratted his brother out to you and gave you a running start. And you decided not to. And you have this rage towards him. But it seems like, I mean, in reality, he kind of wasn't really a major factor in all of this,
No.
And his concern seemed a very legitimate emotional concern for Charlie. Charlie, how is she? Where is she? She's coming with me. She's always with me. And she, in turn, seemed to have a bond with him also.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get to that. But I think the one thing that I wanted to impart with the T-1000 comment is that, I think that you're supposed to be like, what the fuck?
Right.
I think that's intentional. I think in a way, the contrast between the past group and the present group is so night and day that you're supposed to be frustrated. You're supposed to be frazzled. You're supposed to, like, I don't know about to the point of not caring. I mean, I've been invested, so I kind of, like, I'm more concerned than anything else. I'm like, if it was Morgan, this would be a pretty dark place, a dark and crazy place. I know I'm not right, but I'm not wrong, or whatever it is.
That was such a great saying. I love that saying.
So
you print that out and put it in my cube at work.
It should be one of those inspirational posters. But without Morgan, it'll be just like a waterfall. I know I'm not.
It should have a head photo of Morgan.
I know I'm not right.
Oh God.
Yeah. Or like not like the cat hanging from the wire.
Exactly, not the cat hanging from the wire, but Morgan.
Yeah. Well, see, I figured just swap that out with like a landscape of the Himalayan mountains or something. That's what I'm thinking. And then it'll be signed on the bottom right, Morgan Jones.
Morgan Jones.
Sounds like an artist name. Anyway.
It does, doesn't it? Morgan Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad I actually got that observation out about Strand, and I kind of wanted to address that right away because there is something to the way he used to be, and But yeah, no, we will definitely get to Mel because I want to explode that point eventually because there's a turning point, and it's something that I suspected right from the beginning, but we'll get there. But yeah, I started watching the episode a little tiny bit late.
Oh, so you didn't see the first scenes?
So when I rewatched it, I finally saw the film. I'm like, wow, that's so cool.
The flashbacks.
The little completely silent flashback to them hanging out.
How did you interpret that? Did you interpret it as his life flashing before his eyes or anything like that?
Right, the last things you see before you die. Well, I didn't really think that. Do you think that he thought he would ever find her? That's really the thing.
Good question.
And so when he finally sees her, it's kind of like,
I think that he always had this idea that she was alive, but I think that when they found the weapon and Luciana was like, oh, well, she didn't make it out, his anguish and the way he reacted to that vulture that scavenged and pillaged that building.
Oh, I call him Pinky. It's just so much easier than saying the guy that did the things with the teeth and his funny face.
Good point, Pinky. That's
Pinky.
a good one.
It's Pinky. And Inky and Dot.
His anger towards him, though, made me feel like he kind of at that point was just more so looking for answers as to what happened. Right. He had kind of assumed that she was dead at that point. He was already kind of acting as if something had happened to her.
Right.
Not just kind of like, where is she? More like, what happened?
Right. And should I be angry at you for what happened?
Right. Exactly. So I think that he legitimately was surprised when she came out of the Range Rover, I think it was.
Yeah, the Land Rover, right. I'll admit, even though there's a part of me that thought she was alive anyway, there was another part of me that was kind of like, I was okay. I'd be more sad if Madison was gone, but I was ready. I was ready to see that she has not returned. I mean, I was ready for answers more than a body, like a live body.
I mean, I think it's a good point. I mean, I think that in my mind, subconsciously, I didn't think that she was dead just because I thought to myself, like, what a waste.
What a waste of an A-lister.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an A-minuster or something.
Yeah, it's like, this is essentially like an A-list actor, and, you're eliminating them after, 4 episodes? Like, come on. That's not a waste. So in my mind, and then the same thing with John Dory, I just didn't feel like, okay, we're not going to waste and languish this character after 5 episodes.
Yeah, I agree. You got to give him a season.
Yeah, give him season, man.
Or like most of a season.
Or like, again, if this was an unexpected success, it could be a situation like Daryl, where they did not anticipate his fan popularity taking off the way they did, and then they were like, all right, well, we'll keep him around. People love him.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so who knows? But keep him around for a season.
Jeez, I'm wondering though. Just like we want to ask the showrunners, did they think this was going to take off? I'm wondering if they're playing it by ear, the whole John Dory thing, whether or not he lives or dies. Because I feel like they can honestly extend this until, like, they could pull a Carl and not have his fate be revealed until they come back from mid-season break. Because, and here's my feeling, here's why I think that way, is that the underestimation, and then also, look, we've gone one whole entire episode from the time he's been shot.
Yeah,
the end of the episode beforehand.
Yes.
And this entire episode. And we know they're going to be at least maybe sort of dealing with him during this episode. Yeah. And we don't even know if he's going to live or not. So my prediction is that it's going to be... I don't...
Be a cliffhanger? You think you think that we'll address the Madison question, but the John Dory question might still be hanging?
Yeah, I think it'd be indeterminate at best. At best, indeterminate. Like, they fixed the problem, but we don't know if he's going to make it. That sort of thing. But I will say one thing. In lieu of a resolution to John Dory's injuries, I do think they're finally going to get into Althea, because they've been ramping up this episode for that. Even last episode, like little bits and pieces that get you to kind of forget about her in a way. Like, she's kind of in the background. Yeah. But then every now and again, there'll be something, and I'm like...
Because she wants to stay in the background, but she can't.
Yeah, well, yeah, but there's something to that. And some of that was revealed today. Yeah, today. Revealed in this episode, basically.
In this episode, yeah.
Let's pretend that we just watched it today. Oh, yeah, it's Sunday. That'd be nice. I'd like to have that one back.
God, that'd be nice. Yeah.
And so what I thought about the scenes, the silent scenes that he was flashing back to with Laura, was I actually thought it was more of disbelief, first of all, that he actually found her. All these feelings rushing back in. And then obviously, the scenes don't last that long. It's like 15 seconds, maybe, something like that.
Very fleeting.
Yeah. And
fleeting, but it's poignant.
Yeah, it really hits you in the feels.
Yeah,
as you would say.
Because I tried to write down which ones they were. It was like them in a rowboat, them eating dinner, them fishing, playing Scrabble. Just peaceful, calm, and a silent affection there. Yeah. Without it being overt.
The best I can boil it down to is kind of like him thinking, okay, I know she's alive. If it's my time to go, let me just leave myself with these last loving memories.
Right.
Because I know she's alive and she's probably safe. Probably. I don't know. Okay. Maybe.
Maybe.
she has a chance. Before, in my mind, she was dead. And I was not okay with that. But now that I know she's alive, there's a chance that she can make it. So that was my thinking. If I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go now, and I'll be okay.
Right.
But just the show won't let him die yet.
No, they better not.
We're like almost maybe at riot status.
Dude, do you know that there was an article that came out about that? People are saying the same thing for John Dory, and that is pretty darn amazing if you think about it.
Yeah, I agree. There's like a fervor here that it's something that started that just can't stop at this point.
No.
And I have a really bad feeling.
Oh my god.
Well, I tell you, it's exactly what I said in the beginning of the season. It's game theory, man. I mean, it's a specific component to it, but it's the whole, withholding of reward.
Why do you think people like him so much? I like him, but I'm just asking just in general.
It's the same way we like slot machines. I mean, we like the jackpot. That's really what it is. Because, see, I tried to qualify it a couple of episodes ago. Now, when you think of John Dory, do you think the same way that you think of Daryl, or do you think somebody would think this? And that's the thing. Do you think of John Dory as like this sexy, like I really want to be with him kind of character, or do you just really he's everything that we want to be?
Yeah,
that's
more basically what it is. Yeah,
we want to aspire to be like that.
Yeah,
we want to. That's honestly been my ideal. It's
what he is? He's everything. And when I see,
you're gonna say what I was gonna say, but go ahead.
Are we gonna say like?
Oh, basically,
like to me, this is what Morgan and Rick's relationship should have been. This is the right fit for Morgan. When I see John Dory and Morgan's interaction, I juxtapose that against Morgan and Rick's last moments in that bar slaughtering people.
Oh my god!
No, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does not superimpose well.
It does not. It's not. And
you compare that to the first season where he
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When think back to who Rick used to be.
I'll check in on you.
I would be checking in on you in the evenings on the walkie-talkie just to let you know where we are and guide you. I feel like him being with John Dory is giving him a chance to have that relationship that he once had with this person who once was. This person who was basically living for his family, for his wife, for his son. It wasn't about him. It was was not about him.
Right.
You know?
And that's the thing. What was
But that was
clever...
his selflessness.
Yeah.
to Rick.
What was clever about the show is they took a typical trope of a world gone mad with our moral compass of our focal point of okay, this is where things are not mad. The yin to our yang, basically, a little dot in the center. That was Rick. That was the port in the storm.
Right.
But what I really liked about the show is how they eventually, slowly, surely, they moved him out of that circle and made him part of the world writ large. You know how a character like that can
succumb to the circumstances around and not
and find himself left of center or right of center. Like somehow the world moved and he was forced to move another way.
Right.
He finds himself on a different kind of track. That's where he ended up.
You mean
so that's good.
On the wrong side of where he was.
Yeah. Oh my God! I didn't realize I was doing that. He's in the wrong side of where he was now. Before. Now. But.
Just saying.
That's kind of the beauty of the show, though. I think there's a magic to that, and I think that's what kept the show becoming interesting, is because to see that character descend is something that we don't normally see, and get ugly and get brutal and get really, at some points, really, really intense to the point of like, whoa, I can't believe he just did that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it ruined the trope, which is good, because sometimes we need to be thrown off balance, right? And slowly, like a slow cooker, you know, where this guy's been in the pot for seasons and now he's ready.
Yeah.
But introducing a kind of Neo Rick is important to the 2 series, because you know now you have a new moral, a new strong, maybe even better than the first moral center.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. And you know, you have no kid, no baggage like that, but you do get a sense of who these people were before the apocalypse. See, and again, what was interesting about these characters is that you get more of their backstory than you would on The Walking Dead. I mean, it seems like almost you get to know every single person almost right off the bat, you know, within a season of where they were before the apocalypse. And then even more and more as time goes on.
No, it is very true. I mean, on The Walking Dead, it's like we've gone seasons at times without knowing necessarily what's Michonne's backstory. I mean, we got like maybe one episode where we got like a glimpse of
the flashback one, right?
The flashback one, that she had a son and her boyfriend, and then I don't know if it was her brother or
her brothers, I think.
Like yeah, they were the 2 walkers that she had on a chain when they met her. We've gotten glimpses here and there what their lives were once before. Daryl, we've gotten glimpses. We get the idea of childhood wasn't good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, was that it, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
childhood wasn't good, Merle.
And that's about it. That's about it.
Rick, we barely got anything.
Yeah, other than the fact that he was married and had a child, and that he was a child. That's about it. And
about the closest we got to a backstory for any of the Grimes people is Carl's letter. I'm like,
God.
Whoa! Look at all this history that they've had that we never knew about.
No, exactly. Meanwhile, with like John Dory, we know he was a cop, and he also performed at like these shows. How he, and it's like he's been around for 5 episodes, and we have all this background on him, and we've actually grown like affectionate towards him or protective towards his character.
Yeah, and maybe that's the intention of The Walking Dead too. Is The Walking Dead really was maybe supposed to be centered on the now characters rather than who they were, you know. So this way we don't get wrapped up with who they were. This is the new them. And with Fear the Walking Dead, the old them stays with them a lot longer than is comfortable almost. And in fact, what's very interesting about this concept is, I'm going to bring it to this point, is that, you know, Mel in his last fit before Madison is kicking him out of the stadium. And again, I know we'll have to backtrack and say how he got there, but he says, you're trying to be people that are extinct. He says this before he goes, and it echoes. It just makes people shudder because it's everything that we almost think is hokey about this new Madison and this new group and how they want to be charitable and take people in and save people and bring them inside the walls and provide for them and take care of each other. It just fissures in their logic, and like you kind of want to agree with him. So powerful. So after Alicia pulls a Han Solo, because obviously she shot first.
Yes.
A firefight breaks out, and you see 3 people versus all these stormtroopers who can't seem to hit them. You have all these vultures with all these guns. You'd think they'd be able to take them out.
Nope.
But she's determined. Her thing is, she's being shot at. She's trying to shoot at other people, but she's got her stank eye on Naomi. She's like trying to get her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're wondering, and even Strand's like wondering, okay, dude, there's more of them. Why are you so focused on Naomi?
That's my thing. I'm just like, I don't, I'm sure we'll get more insight to it, but I just don't know where this rage comes to direct towards her.
Right.
She was not a catalyst of all this from what we're seeing, based on what we saw of the episode and where we left off with Madison and the horde of what I assume are going to be flaming walkers.
Yeah, charred walkers.
Pretty damn cool, I gotta say.
Who doesn't like Texas barbecue, right? But yeah, it's crazy, right? Like I think what the show was trying to do though was they were trying to establish that, you know, Naomi and her had the thing at the water park, and it was a little tense at moments, but they also had her removing the glass from her arm, and I think there's a part of Alicia that kind of wanted her as a friend, and it just missed the mark or something, and then this thing happened, and now she hates the F out of her.
Yeah, there's history there, so I understand, you know, where, you know, the anger to an extent is coming from, but it's like, is it reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, we're missing so much. I mean, that's the thing. That's why I use my intro like in the beginning. It's kind of like we're stuck in the middle right now. It's really frustrating where there's these really tense moments happening in the past and in the present, and we have to wait till the next episode.
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating. And then add to that, the cherry on top is our darling Dory has been incapacitated for so long.
I know.
So
our darling Dory. That's a good.
Mojo and the darling Dory.
I do like Mojo. That's a good one.
Yeah. Right after that, Morgan is standing over John Dory, and Naomi's there, and he's like affirming now, as maybe signaling to us that he's John's friend.
Yeah, he flat out said it. I'm his friend.
Yeah, this is my guy. So you can trust me, and I know he loves you. So I know you're gonna come back with those medical supplies.
Yeah,
you are the Laura,
and she definitely tries to. She tries to go get to the truck to get these supplies, but Mel is getting into the truck to basically get away. He isn't even trying to kill them and anything like that. He's just trying to get away.
Yeah, and he realizes this mistake.
Right.
Like, he's pinned down behind his own bus, and he's just like, and Pinky's going to him, I thought you said we could take him.
Yeah. Nope.
I just kind of like that scene for some reason, because it's so weird. It's so weird to see what we would normally see is, you know, the villain. We think our expectations are Negan-esque, but it just falls short.
Because you know why? Again, it's the same thing. Mel is a more humanized version of a quote-unquote villain, just like the Clarks are a more humanized version of like our Walking Dead characters. Our Walking Dead characters are our Walking Dead heroes, and they very much are heroes. And then our Walking Dead villains are very much our villains. Whereas in Fear the Walking Dead, it is not so hero-villain, because they're fairly quote-unquote normal people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
even though the rest of the world's a little more ridiculous, it's not even that far off. It's just sort of right or left of center.
Yeah.
Not so that's not the governor. Like,
no, that's what I mean. Like the governor, you know,
he turned evil, EVIL.
Yeah, the terminus
for eating people.
You know, Negan and the Saviors. You know, like I mean, it's
how
just
grandiose.
Like like I mean, we had these larger than life villains that were very much about the bravado and like. I mean, governor showed up in a fucking tank. You know, like Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, let's not forget that. And you know, meanwhile, these guys are like, I thought we could take them. Nope, time to peace out.
Yeah, and even if you look at the Colonia, and if you look, I'm going to call her the Contessa for me, because it's the, I think it was the second season, Strand's friend that he had been meaning to get to in Mexico, he finally got to him, but he got sick, and his mother was taking care of him before, you know, eventually he died. And the mother, who I'm calling the Contessa, what happens with a lot of the Mexican villages, the Mexican houses, and the way they treat the dead is way differently. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this. They don't kill them. They basically, it's almost like as if, what if everybody did what Herschel Green did in the barn? But instead of keeping them in the barn, they just left them in an open area and fed them occasionally, that sort of thing. See, they're not evil. They're just misguided, or, you know, they're not really bad. Dead, they're trying to uphold this kind of standard, this morality by taking care of their dead and feeding them every once in a while, that sort of thing.
It's a cultural aspect too.
Yeah.
You know, about treating the dead differently. And every culture does. Every culture has their way of, you know, how do you treat the dead? Like, do you bury? Do you not? Do you send them off at sea? Bury? Do you burn like this?
Do you do a Weekend at Bernie's thing, you know?
It's like, culturally speaking, there's so many different approaches, so it's understandable.
That was a pretty cool thing that they did with that too, kind of breaking the mold of what we would normally see people treat the dead. I thought was really interesting because it's not something that, it's totally nothing that we would have expected. And then to the point where even Nick gets it. Nick understands where these people are coming from and even respects their wishes and that sort of thing for the longest time. But the whole point that we're trying to make is that it's a little bit more grounded. It's a little bit more, yes, everybody around the Clarks seems a lot stranger than the Clarks, but not so much strange. I mean, they're just a little bit apart from them, and not like these wild caricature like villains and heroes. So, you know what? If this was a series unto itself, it might not be that great, but because it's a companion series, there's a lot more to it. It's like you get a little break from the cartoony, and you get some kind of real stuff. Like you get background, you get character flaws that carry on, you know, from before, during, and after. You get what you get in Fear the Walking Dead is what you can't get from The Walking Dead in some ways. You just can't quite get there. And now it's kind of too late. Like if they really start bringing like backstory, it's kind of like, I don't care anymore. You know, I don't care. I do like the guy from now, you know, or I do want the guy from now that we know from now to get better, or you know, that sort of thing. They want their situation to be great. So I don't know. It's just interesting. It had to be a companion series for it to work.
No, I agree.
And be refreshing. Yeah, Mel's pinned down at the bus, Pinky, and then he goes, we gotta get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And like you said, just bolts for the ambulance.
And unfortunately, it's promptly blown up by Alicia's space gun. What the hell that thing is. Again, I am not an expert at artillery and weapons and anything like that. I have no idea what the hell weapon that is. That thing launched a grenade.
Well, they do exist, and you know what's very interesting about that? A couple days ago, I must have followed, I think, either the set coordinator or designer, and he featured the guy that actually makes sure the actual weapons were authentic. And to the point where, and they mentioned something of that on Talking Dead. Coleman Domingo was basically saying, we actually had to go for live artillery training because we needed to know how it felt in our hands and as we shouldered the weapons and so. And then the guy that creates the weapons that they get to use, he makes sure that the weight is the same.
You know what? That is very interesting. Do you know if they use, with the weapons, if they use blanks or if it's like post-production, they add in the actual kind of shots and effects or whatever? I will tell you that there was a lot of criticism for Walking Dead in terms of the firefights in recent years, because back when they were at the prison, they did a lot more of what you're describing in terms of trying to keep the authenticity to the artillery that they're using, and they would use blanks. So in terms of
the recoil, you mean?
The recoil, like it was all very realistic because you were actually shooting this
blanks, right?
Yeah, you were actually shooting this weapon. My understanding is that in recent years they don't do that anymore on Walking Dead.
I did not know that.
That they do post-production and kind of add in the effects, and because of that, a lot of people say that it's not very realistic. The whole Stormtrooper sort of thing, where it's sort of like just all this, and it's like it's just a little bit of a stretch.
You can clearly see the difference.
You can clearly see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, so it's exactly like I'm saying. It's two things. They made sure the weight of the weapons was the same. They made sure that they were functional looking, feeling. They compared them to real weapons. They had to go for artillery training, so they knew how the weight, the feel, the recoil, all that stuff. So they have taken really great pains to.
That's very impressive.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but like, and this is maybe just kind of a side note, is that I actually saw a video of Garrett Dillahunt actually practice shooting real guns and stuff like that.
I think I saw that. I think I saw that somewhere online too.
Yeah. And he went to a real shooting range. They showed his real footage, and he's not half bad.
Good for him.
He's even practicing the trick shots too, that sort of thing.
That's the thing. It's like it does matter.
They're doing the hard work. Yeah,
it does matter.
They deserve it too.
And it pays off. There is a payoff to it. I think that the overall final outcome and final subliminal effect is more effective when done that way, as opposed to, like I said, criticism The Walking Dead had, where it just seemed to, stretch the imagination, where it's like, I don't know what's going on, who's shooting who, like it's just sort of like,
Yeah.
right, like it's like people said, it's like it's just spray and pray, just
yeah. I mean, we've been praying for 2 seasons.
oh my god.
Like my knees hurt.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, yeah.
So anyway, back to what's going on.
But
So
there you
the truck
go.
blows
Space
up,
gun blows up, and Alicia sees Naomi on the floor.
Right, and Naomi manages to, like, I don't know what she picked up, and that basically kind of like whacked her with it.
Oh, it was like an old kind of fire extinguisher.
That's what I thought. It looked like a fire extinguisher.
Or it could have been. You know what it is? I can tell you what it was. Maybe it looked like it might have been a small oxygen canister from the ambulance. Maybe that makes more sense.
I would have bought fire extinguisher too, because it had that shape. It looked like it, but I wasn't quite.
But it was silver.
But the oxygen tank would have made sense, considering it was an ambulance.
Yeah, exactly. So the dialogue goes like this. So Alicia's like, we
gave you a home, right? Something like that.
Like Naomi's like, no, I wasn't. It's not what you think.
Yeah.
She says, yeah, we gave you a home and you took it, and boom.
Mm-hmm. Like, all right, girl.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. So I actually want to skip from that, because I know we've been skipping around just a little bit, but let's skip right from that straight to Alicia's interaction with Mel.
Okay.
Because as they're about to go follow Dory and crew at the stadium, they see Mel from the corner of their eye and be like, oh snap, this guy's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So Alicia's like, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
And she walks up to him, and the most interesting dialogue happens, because she's thinking what we're thinking. She goes, how long was she with you?
Mm-hmm. And she said, you know what, it doesn't even matter.
Exactly. Wow, it's like they knew we were thinking that she was with him for a long time, even though we find out later that it's not really the case.
No,
doesn't
it's not
seem
really
like
the case. It doesn't seem like that's the case at all.
Unless Ennis had something to do with it, because Mel seems clueless.
Mel seems clueless, completely clueless about any of this. The only thing that Mel seems that he was aware of is that Ennis is capable of doing this, and that's what his plan is, and I'm letting you guys know so you can kind of get your stuff together now and get the hell out of Dodge before this happens.
Right, but that's about it. Nothing more about Naomi.
No. I mean, you see when we do the flashback that he definitely tries to appeal to Naomi to kind of say, look, you know that it's not a safe idea to stick around and wait for this thing to go down, which in reality he's right. And Naomi already had reservations even before Mel and Ennis came around, like, okay, we're gonna hunker down here and whatever. She was already sort of like, ugh, I don't know how you're gonna be able to sustain this. And then during this, it kind of just pretty much reaffirmed what she already suspected, which is like, this place is gonna fall.
Yeah. And essentially the end result is that you feel like it's going to.
Oh yeah, Luciana comes across Charlie during
and there's that moment, man. There's that fucking moment.
Sorry.
Yes, the sorry moment.
Sorry doesn't cut it.
But
sorry.
she actually points her weapon at her.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I get it. I really do get it, because like she doesn't know what to do. There's a part of her that's thinking, I shouldn't be doing this. Mm-hmm. But there's another part of her that's like, I don't know that I have any other choices.
Right. And
just kill my man.
It's like, what am I supposed to do? With this devil child? I don't know.
Yeah. Think of how much we feel about almost all the kids on The Walking Dead. We hated Henry. We hated the girl from Oceanside.
We've been suspicious of every child on The Walking Dead.
Sam.
Every child.
Oh, the one that freaking shot Carl's face off.
Yeah, that kid.
Son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But there is a quality to children in the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something to them, and they're more apt for this world, I want to say, I guess. They have the chops to really do something.
They can adapt better.
Yeah.
Children adapt very well.
I mean, it's not a great thing for our world, but it's perfect for their world. Yeah. And that's the thing, that the biggest thing that really goes that's really the most difficult to grapple with on both The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead is nobody really seems to know what to do with the kids until it's too late for either of them. And they finally kind of got it right with Henry and Carol at the end.
Yeah, thank God.
Before they leave for the stadium, Morgan sees Charlie and grabs her and says basically, you're Charlie. You were the girl that they took care of. Mm-hmm. Don't go back there. Mel is not in good shape. He's probably dead. You don't want to see that. And he basically is like, we're going to keep you safe. This is what it comes down to. You need to have a safe spot. And I feel like this is going to be a chance for Morgan to do it right, to do it what Carol got to do with Henry, kind of rewrite some wrongs. He's doing it right with John Dory. He's being his friend. There's something there between them, and they can have this sort of relationship. And I think maybe in a way, something might happen with him and Charlie, where in the sense where he can have an honest kind of let her be who she's going to be as a kid in the apocalypse, give her that breathing room to be that person, and then also at the same time got her back. So I want to see that go somewhere. I mean, and obviously she's going to be used as like a linchpin for maybe getting them back.
Right.
Alicia, Strand, and Luciana back.
Sal.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of that.
I know, right?
Or
Sal.
ALS. No.
Sal.
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 Such a New York, Brooklyn, Bronx. I talked to my cousin Sal yesterday. And Luciana right after that kills Pinky. Right after the Charlie scene.
Yep, right there. And that gives Charlie the opportunity to kind of run off. So it turns back and she's gone. But we see that Morgan does appeal to Althea, who's filming everything.
Right, exactly.
She basically is kind of on the outskirts, and we see that she's filming everything. And he's like, listen, we need to get John to the stadium, because basically we end up finding out from Naomi that the place to go to for the medical supplies now would need to be the stadium.
Because 50 miles is way too far. A distance.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
So.
And Althea's reticent. She's like, I'm not part of the story.
And he's like, look, you're going to let an innocent man just kind of die?
Yeah, your story is almost over. And, this good man does not need to die right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it finally kind of appeals to her, and she, it's like, all right. So they all load up and get in, and she like turns her missiles on Alicia, right?
That's right.
And she backs down. They're
That's
like,
right.
all right. It's like, no, man, you're not going to win this fight against a freaking SWAT tank. I can't even call it a SWAT vehicle. It's like a SWAT tank.
Yeah. And I think she kind of references that in the next episode.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Like a tank inside a bank vault or something.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. It's a good description. That's about right.
Yeah, but then something funny happens right after. What I thought was interesting about this scene is that, Alicia does back down. And I feel like she almost does it and realizes that maybe she could have had a moment where while they were bringing them in, the guns were still pointing in that general direction. So she could have probably just killed them and ended herself. So I thought for a second, like, maybe she's realizing that her beef isn't with John Dory. But
then they shoot at the vehicle, the armored vehicle.
Exactly. As they're pulling away, they're just errant shots at the vehicle.
I'm just like, stop, girl. Stop.
girl, stop. Girl, you're just wasting bullets.
Wasting bullets.
What a waste. Your mom wouldn't be proud. Oh, no.
Yeah, wasting that ammo.
Your mom would be, why are you wasting bullets?
And so on that note, then we go into the past.
That's right. Yes. The scene of hope. Planting the crops at the stadium.
Crops, everybody helping, that sort of thing.
You could smell the hope in the air.
Yes, there's hope. And there's color again. That's how we know we're in the past.
Yeah. You get to breathe a little sigh of relief.
All right.
So Nick is approaching Madison, and Madison's being really honest, and she basically echoes the same thing that he echoed to her a couple episodes back about how she even admits she feels like she's a better person inside rather than outside.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. She's already been kind of pretty honest, but still cavalier about what she wants to do in life, what she wants to do with people. But she still is real. She even admits here that Nick asks her, did you ever give up hope? Did you ever think we weren't going to make it?
Yeah, many times.
Yeah, like a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Not like I let you see me sweat, but...
No, she wouldn't let you know, but yeah, of course, she had her doubts probably.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, right after their little chat...
Knock, knock.
Who's at the door? But Charlie.
Oh, God.
Again. Oh, Charlie.
And it's
like a sitcom.
And when we are in the present, she does say that what happened back there was not Naomi's fault, that it was hers.
Right.
She does kind of come to Naomi's defense and basically confirming that she was not the catalyst or involved with the events that unfolded that led to this point.
Now, do you think, so far from seeing this entire episode, do you think that Charlie's just shouldering the blame? Because she basically came to them for help? Or do you think it's like a more purposeful thing? Like she purposefully got them screwed up? Like maybe she was working with Ennis the entire time.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll see more. I mean, from what
you don't want to count it out, I guess.
I don't want to count it out because I don't trust her. But at the same time...
You also don't want to be wrong about blaming a kid.
She's old enough. I mean...
She's old enough for this world.
She's old enough.
She's not
to
Judith.
Blame, exactly. She's not Judith.
She can form sentences.
She can form sentences. She seems like a teenager. Teenagers to me,
preteen.
The worst.
Just older than Carl when we first met him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it is her fault just because of the fact that being a child and kind of making the decisions that she did kind of set the events in motion. But at the same time, I don't even know if I can say that, because if Ennis Ennis had already determined, based on what Mel said at the infirmary, that Ennis already decided if this place wasn't going to fall, he was going to make it fall, then it sounds like it was going to happen no matter what. It sounds like whether Charlie had came to their door asking for their help and bringing Mel in, it doesn't sound like it would have made a difference.
Hey, here's another idea. Do you think that maybe Charlie had something to do with Mel crashing the bus to get...
That's a very good point.
Right, to get Mel to come inside the walls. Maybe that was the deterrent method, and having Mel and having Charlie within the walls might get Ennis to back off? Because depending on that answer is another question, right?
I could see potentially her being in cahoots with Ennis, especially since she said, oh, Ennis wouldn't do that. You know, I kind of like raised an eyebrow at that. I'm like, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, or it's the other way. Like maybe she is with Mel, and because Mel is the older brother.
But maybe she was in cahoots with Ennis, and what if Mel was trying to warn them? What if he was trying to drive to them and warn them, and she crashed this or whatever, or, you know, kind of...
boy,
like,
you went a step further. That's really interesting.
I don't know. I mean, like, when he got in there, he warned them.
Yeah.
You know, he warned them for what was going to happen. Maybe that was a point of contention between the two brothers, where Mel was just like, look, it's gonna fall. Let's just wait it out or whatever. And it's just like, nope, we got to do this, and we're gonna like just basically like completely just annihilate. And maybe that was a point of contention where the two brothers didn't agree, and maybe Charlie did kind of side more with Ennis, and maybe Mel left and was gonna
took Charlie with him.
And maybe the argument, you know, was beyond just with Ennis. Maybe it was with Charlie, and that led to whatever scuffle or whatever happened that led to the crash.
What you may be saying is that maybe it wasn't even purposeful. Maybe they were arguing, and in the process of arguing, that he accidentally crashed, let's say.
Right, yes.
He just didn't see the walker till it's too late.
Right.
Yeah, and so, see, I thought you were going really dark, like, oh, she planned it, and she pulled the wheel and everything. I'm like, oh.
I mean, I
can tell.
I don't know. I mean, I think that she cares for both brothers, and maybe she thought the best of both of them, Ennis and Mel.
Right.
Whereas Mel is like, no, Ennis is capable of this, and this is his plan, and this is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, it is important to note that when Nick meets Ennis and ends him, Charlie happens to be there, just like Charlie was there in the past scene, going scouting with Ennis and trying to beat them to the scavenging sites over the radio.
She's with these two brothers.
Or at least with Ennis, mostly.
Which makes me feel like maybe she had a tighter bond with Ennis. So maybe Mel was trying to get to them and to warn them, and maybe they got into an argument because she was trying to stop them or whatever, and maybe indirectly this crash happened. But she wasn't going to let him die because she cares for him regardless.
Or maybe not even warning them. I mean, it could just be what he was saying.
He didn't agree with it, and he was out.
And then he took Charlie and just separated from them, let's say. I mean, it sounds like it was only them two, which doesn't seem the way the vultures roll, right?
No, they're like a caravan.
Yeah, like a caravan of nuts.
Like gypsies.
Yeah, exactly. So it just him and Charlie alone. Maybe they were trying to make a go of it alone, which makes me think of another question. Now, this could fit into the overall sets of questions and ideas that we just kind of brought up, is that there's a larger question here. And look, both Mel and Ennis in the present are dead, but I often wonder if Ennis had brought on the initial catastrophe that befell Mel, him, and his family. Do you know what I mean?
Very possible.
It makes me think that he has there's these machinations that he has. And maybe the whole roaming around thing was his idea, and Mel just kind of went along with it. Like, who's the older brother, right?
I think that Ennis has no remorse, and he is out just looking for themselves, whereas I think Mel has a conscience to him.
Right. He has the more philosophical kind of, this is what we do. We don't use weapons. We don't even use walkers. The reason why I even asked this question, there are some things that are said in the episode that we may get to, but things that were said in past episodes where Mel does bring up, the people in that town, they just needed to get the drip valve going in the silo, and the thing would not have exploded, and you know, and that's kind of a shame. You know, we warned them about it, but it makes me wonder if Ennis hadn't purposely done it, and Mel was none the wiser.
It's a good point. You never know. Ennis might have been the one that was kind of hurrying up the demise of these communities, unbeknownst to Mel. It's very possible.
Yeah, and which also begs another question, and that's, does Charlie even know? Because it seems as though Charlie was a remnant from either the town with the silo, or, you know, another town which they waited out, because he basically said, you know, that Charlie had told me that she watched her parents die, and then we scooped her up and took her with us because she had no family anymore. And it makes me think, like, wow, is she even aware that the vultures had killed her family, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question.
Right?
It's a good question. I don't know.
That's what it makes it seem. Like, that's what Mel kind of made it seem in that one scene with Madison at the gate. Don't make Charlie have to relive that experience again. So, oh gosh, because you did it.
Yeah.
It's just so much on the table here right now.
There's a lot of possibilities.
So the decision to save Mel from the bus.
Yes. Naomi basically examines him, without moving him. I think she says that he had like a bruised lung, cracked ribs, and he wouldn't survive just leaving him there on his own.
Right, and
it would
then
be like certain death.
Yeah, and Madison makes the case to Nick. Nick had his objections.
Yeah, he was very weary.
Yeah, and she's like, no one's gone till they're gone. Look what happened with Naomi. We lost Charlie, and we gained a Naomi, even though Naomi was hostile too.
Yeah.
And now we have a doctor, which led us to getting all these crops and supplies and rations. So, dude, I've been killing it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. And eventually, they're like, all right, well, okay.
She makes a good point, honestly. A lot of the moves that she's been making has been even though they've hit trouble, it's yielded long-term results. It's a tough effing goddamn road.
Yeah.
But yeah. By the way, the downfall of Mel's family, that whole thing, it really does say a lot about Mel's squirreliness, which I'm going to get into now. Is like when they bring him back and he's handcuffed to the bed. What's interesting about moving into that scene is that we go from Alicia ending Mel,
yes,
right to the hospital bed in the past where he's staying in. Much in the way we lost Nick. When Nick died, the very next scene was him in that field of flowers. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but what's really interesting is that we don't miss a beat between losing Mel and seeing him in the infirmary bed, handcuffed to the bedpost or the headboard, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you have this scene with him and Naomi. At one point, he gets her knife, sticks it to her throat, and even cuts her a little bit. And
she kind of pokes him. She knows where he's injured.
The big takeaway from this, and even the scene at the gate where Madison's finally had enough of Mel sowing doubt, is what appears to me, and I think you'll agree, is that Mel just seems kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
He's trapped in his notion of why his family died is because they stayed.
And that's why I feel, like I said, to an extent, sorry for him, because I don't see him as this evil, kind of person.
Like he's picked up something wrong along the way. I get it, but you don't have to starve people out. But otherwise, I do feel completely sorry for Mel. I think there's no ill intention. He gives advice. He's not trying to stop people from leaving and coming back.
He's not.
We'll beat you to the sites, but it's really kind of for your own good. I don't want to see you starve.
Well, and plus, besides that, it's just like, you snooze, you lose. Like, that's not anything necessarily crazy.
Right.
Everybody's trying to scavenge for what they need.
Right, and it's not like they're committing violence. They're not, there's like this distinct form of non-violence.
Yeah, that caravan showing up at the end was the most ominous, scary thing to me because of the not knowing what the hell was going on. I mean, we knew obviously that they had walkers.
I must think more of the ice cream truck than anything else, because I knew it wasn't the caravan.
No, but the ice cream truck too, but everything, the whole setup, the ice cream truck, what the hell that was about, then the caravans and them all set up. It was like, what is going on?
It was pretty grand.
But it was and it was no weapons.
Right.
And it was so scary. And you could tell they were too. They were just sort of like, although a lot of people criticize and they say it's like, what are you doing standing around there? Shoot them. That they're not there for good reason.
Well, I know that you've been doing the math, though. Is that
I know it's a
they're
lot
like over 2,000 walkers.
I know. Jesus Christ, yeah.
So it's kind of like you might need to save your bullets, Because what if even one truck manages to get loose? It's too late already. It's already too late. So, well, I kind of want to hammer home this point about Mel, though. It's like every single move he makes. It's like you said, he was his main thing was to really get him and Charlie out of there. She does not need to be there. I do not need to be in the infirmary. We need to be not in a place. We need to be out. And especially with what Ennis has in mind, whatever it is, he doesn't really know, but he knows that he wants to assist the situation. And maybe that's why their blowout was so big, is that maybe Mel had figured out, kind of like what we were saying before, is that maybe he's had a hand in every downfall. Like maybe what seemed to be particular happenstances, and maybe even the Weevils. Like maybe the Weevils coming in and killing, that maybe had been a byproduct of Ennis.
Yeah.
And maybe Mel has just kind of been like, yeah, fortune's been favoring me. And my plan is really working. Of starving people out, because something must be on my side. So he just seems very pathetic. Not much of a villain. Not really any. I mean, yeah, the knife to the throat, that's one thing, but
right.
But that's more out of desperation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was just more of a desperation move to just kind of get out of his circumstances.
Yeah, and foolhardily, because he was roundly put down. One little poke to the ribs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so there's the thing about Madison's hammer that I wanted to talk about. And it's something they talked about in Talking Dead, and it brought itself back to me in a flash, is that the imagery of the hammer, it does kind of, it's like a callback to when Madison ended Troy. There's like this distinct relationship with the hammer, and now she's using it as kind of like a means to transform things rather than destroy things. She's transforming a good act of building a home for Charlie, which became Naomi's home, and now she's using the parts from that home of love to reinforce the stadium walls. She's really just doubling down and tripling down on love. She's doing this careful, caring act of taking this thing down again and reinforcing the walls, like making sure, like, no, we're not letting this happen. No, we'll handle it. We'll take care of these people. Yeah, nothing's gonna happen. It's kind of like that. It's like it's like Thor's hammer. It's like she's using these magic powers to kind of keep everybody safe, and it is almost supernatural. There's almost like, if I just believe in this hard enough, it'll work. So I thought that was interesting.
It's an interesting tidbit.
Yeah, and then we did see that scene with Madison pointing the gun at Mel just before he's supposed to go. Like, no one's gone till they're gone.
And nobody is really on Madison's side here.
It's kind of like, what are you doing?
Right, kind of like, you really think this is a good idea?
Right, this is not you at all, basically. Like, you would be the one to keep him here, make him see the way. He's injured, clearly not going to make it, even though he's stacked. He's got all
cracking.
this stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is the reason why I said that almost every single person here on this show, in spite of this new attitude, does kind of slip up a little bit. And Madison's slip up is the worst. Yeah. Is the worst out of all of them. She basically reverted into the mama bear that had wanted to protect her babies at all costs. Yeah. The one that we knew from all the last few seasons. And I just think that's really interesting, because I kind of knew it was coming.
Did you?
Yeah, it just felt like ever since the just in case car, all the little things I picked up from the last episode. Noticing that the two people died over a can of beans, like, oh wait, this could happen to my group. Seeing the just in case car at the FEMA camp, making sure Alicia does it, seems a little out of character. It's like, if you're putting everything into a wish and a promise, why would you have an escape contingency? Why would you embrace something that you would criticize Strand about? So you see these little things, like Strand does make sense. Oh, I guess so. Like, she's hedging her bets, in case something happens.
For sure.
It's kind of like what Strand says in that episode beforehand. The artifice crumbles and the curtain falls, that sort of thing. Like, when backed into a corner. Yeah. And that's how she feels like when she sees Mel basically, first of all, attacking Naomi. Right. That's a bridge too far. And then sowing doubt. And yeah, everybody has doubts, but at the same time, everybody's on board. Yeah. And this kind of causes the group to act without her, or act in her name, maybe even. Saying, we got to get this Mel guy back, because I think this may be something that she ends up regretting. Right. And if we don't do this, we're not living up to her ideals. Right. And Strand's on board. He gets it. He's like, yeah, I mean, after all, she saved me. This Mel guy's a can of, it's like a hill of beans compared to me. So why not him? Yeah, I was the worst. So why not Mel? Right. And that's why I brought it up. That's why I brought Strand up, that whole rant in the beginning, because it does make a difference. It does have a place, to compare the two and to save Mel. It's very important.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
They finally get Mel, the Land Rover, and they just in time to see the convoy pass them by. They almost make it to the stadium before the convoy, before the ice cream truck.
They just missed them.
Yeah, just missed. And which is really crappy, because at the same time, just as they're pulling up, the ice cream truck comes along with the oil slick and kind of blocks the entrance with like a wall of fire at some point. But they're kind of stuck, because they don't know if they move and they open the gate, will they try to crash the walkers in? And so they're kind of stuck in this position.
They're kind of stuck in this position because they don't want to compromise the stadium.
Which I get.
Yeah, sure.
You're really put in a really, really bad position. And it's Madison's babies.
Out there.
This is what she was trying to avoid.
This is exactly what she was trying to avoid.
Get inside the walls, you little shits.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, so yeah, Naomi and Madison have a moment too. And it's a pretty cool moment, because you're talking about two mothers.
Yes.
One has been a mother way longer than the other, but Naomi, she dropped some knowledge.
I was going to say she dropped some knowledge.
Yeah, you tell me.
Well, she said that basically sometimes you have to disappoint your kids. Madison basically tells her how, she built this for her kids so they can have some semblance of stability and normalcy in this sort of climate. Your decisions aren't always going to make your kids happy.
You can't keep doing this thing where you try to build this world in spite of their safety.
Yeah.
You can't shield them from this.
You can't shield them from the reality that's out there.
And at the same time, though, what's interesting about that is by doing what she did, which is what she's always done, which she's really disappointed herself about. She's really disappointed about reverting into Mama Bear and staying her ground. Well, first of all, reverting and kicking Mel out, but then also still doubling down. So I love how she says the silver lining is basically how, I guess I did something right by having the kids having to get Mel. Like, I at least, if they're going to do what they're going to do, let them do it in the name of this positive promise, this goodwill, charity kind of kick that I've been on.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Do you think they should have just abandoned the stadium? Because it's a tough question when you think.
That's a tough one. The question then becomes like, where do you go? You can already get a semblance when they were out scavenging that there isn't a whole lot out there. They've had to venture a little farther in order to find things. And then the other side is that, it's almost like calling their bluff. It's like, they're saying that, this place is going to fall. But how accurate is that? Are you just messing with me to try and get me to willingly abandon my home and all my supplies so that you guys can just waltz in easily and help yourself? So it's a tough call.
Well, and there's a bigger question here too. Let's just assume that they do leave, right? But who's to say the vultures won't follow? Maybe their end game is really to make sure people either die or join.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah. I don't know if there would have been any other option other than kind of doing what they did, which was kind of reinforcing the stadium to the best of their ability.
Now that kind of begs a bigger question: is do you think they would have been safe from Ennis's attack if Mel and Charlie had been with him? Would Ennis sacrifice his own brother in his quest to make the walls fall?
Maybe Ennis would have been more open to it. I don't know.
Well, maybe she's blaming herself for allowing Madison to keep her behind. I don't know. There's a bunch of reasons why she would be blaming herself, even to the point where it could just be that she did something a little bit more than what is being shown.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure necessarily because we don't really know the caliber of Ennis's relationship with Mel, really.
Yeah. Well, look, they're brothers and they obviously been through a lot together and losing their family.
Just because they're brothers doesn't mean that,
Yeah, it seems to me that there's obvious fissures, which, by the way, it's not as if Kevin Zegers is gone, and even the guy that plays Ennis, they're not gone from the show. We have them in past scenes still, so we will maybe get to see a little bit more, maybe justifying their deaths or even maybe pointing out how, they're flawed, but maybe they won't be as bad as we think that they are. I don't know. Like, so far we're kind of sympathetic with Mel to a point so far. I wonder if we'll get that feeling from Ennis. I don't really think so.
I don't really think so.
He's a ginger too, so
That's so wrong.
That is very wrong. I'm sorry. But yeah. So we get to the gate. Ennis torches the oil slick.
Yes.
And the ice cream truck explodes. And it's just bad because the Land Rover's out there in a sea of convoy and walkers. And they're overtaking. And then Madison's gearing up to get the irrigation truck to rescue them and everything. Strand's joining her. Douglas tries to get in the way. He says, we got to put out that fire. And he's like, Strand's like, get out of the way. We're getting those kids.
Doug. Come on.
What's really interesting is what Alicia does. While they're doing that, they're in the process of doing it. Alicia delivers this kind of a soliloquy over the walkie.
Kind of like her goodbye.
Yeah.
Basically giving her goodbye.
I'm trying to equate this. It feels a lot like Carl's letter in a way.
God, you know what it reminded me of? Not so much the speech itself, but that moment reminded me of when Aaron and Daryl were in the car in that parking lot surrounded by walkers. And I thought, man, this might be the end for Daryl. This might be where he comes out and sacrifices himself to give Aaron a chance to get away, and Morgan comes in, and basically this is when Morgan reappears from being away for however long. He finally meets up with them, and Daryl and Aaron bring him back to Alexandria, where he finally reconnects with Rick again. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do actually. I do. It's very powerful. Yeah, you really don't think they're going to make it back?
No, I did not think that. I really, that was one of those episodes where I was like, this might be it for Daryl.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and that was it. That was importance for Daryl. Well, I mean, aside from, some here and there's, but really it was kind of like a non-starter.
Yeah.
In most cases.
We always think something's going to happen. Daryl got shot by Dwight. He's still good.
Yeah. That was that. I mean, obviously that does set the tone for their relationship.
Yeah, it did set the tone.
Yeah, he did get shit on a lot.
Like really. Yeah, man. Yeah. Maybe he deserves to be a leading man now. He earned it. All right.
Yeah, he's paid his dues, maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
As long as they don't give him too many lines.
He might surprise us. You never know.
Yeah.
But she gives this speech kind of like apologizing for their decision, but basically kind of still standing by why they did what they did.
Yeah. I wrote it down. It was like, she says, Mom, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We had to come out here. We had to try and save him. We couldn't just hide.
Yeah.
We didn't mean to do this to you. I love that line in particular.
Yeah, because it wasn't anything against her. It was like they just couldn't stay crouching behind these walls like she wants them to. Like any mom does. Wants to protect her kids.
Wait, and that's why she says that. She's like, I know how you are. I know what the lengths to which you've gone to where you've gone to not only save yourself, but save your kids, to be present and alive at this moment. To help keep us alive through this apocalypse, you've had to do some crazy things. So we didn't mean to do this to you.
No.
But it was the right thing to do. And this is all because of Madison. Them going out. It's because of her. It's because of it's like Nick says. He even confides in Madison. And he says, somewhere after his initial chat with her, he says, first of all, that thing that you said to me about being inside makes me a better person? We're basically saying the same thing. Do you remember when I confided you in that field of bluebonnets? I said being outside made me feel like a different person, a person I didn't want to be. But it's not the stadium walls. It was you, Mom.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize it, but it doesn't really matter where we all are, where we're sitting and living. It's just that I know that when I've been around you, I've been my best self. So, because you showed me the way.
Right.
And like, Carl, you showed me the way.
Oh, like Carl. Sad. Yeah. Nick is dead.
Yeah, and then that's kind of makes it hurt a little bit more. This really, really honest kind of conversation about, thanks, Mom. You really brought me back. And honestly, this is something that Madison's kind of always wanted. For all the room she would give Nick when he needed the room, all the rope that she gave him, this long leash, at least in the apocalypse, knowing that, okay, I'm going to see him again. I can just only hope. I would do anything for that kid, but I know that when he gets a certain way, I need to kind of let go of that leash a little bit. And so for all the stuff that she's really, really had to go through between him leaving, her trying really hard to get him back when he's in trouble, for him to kind of admit that is kind of big for her. It's like a big moment. It's everything I've been working really, really hard to try to do to get Nick to be something more than he's been pre-apocalypse. This is really the apex, the recognition that I don't know if many parents really get.
True.
And she's like, I don't know any moms like that. I don't know any moms that have gone well above and beyond their capabilities to kind of care for their kids like that.
Like, yeah, no, we haven't been tested yet.
Yeah, we don't have heroin addict sons. I don't know how many parents, like most parents I hear, they just kind of give up on their kids when it comes to drug abuse and that sort of thing.
Which is sad, but
yeah. I mean, it's a reality. We're not Superman.
It's a reality, yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought that was really cool, like a culmination of unexpected recognition for Madison. So, and I think this is the seed. This is kind of the seed of a seed that grows and then eventually is plucked before it gets to become something bigger. It's this recognition and him realizing that it's her that makes him want to be a better person, and something happens to her. I'm not going to say that she dies. The closest thing that I'm actually really defaulting to at this point is that Madison makes clearly Alicia, after delivering her soliloquy over the walkie, being trapped, surrounded by all these walkers, these oil slick walkers, if you remember. These are from the silos, which is why the fire is particularly dangerous.
Right.
It's the fact that I think that Madison is going to go for broke.
What do you mean?
She has everything to gain and nothing to lose by going after her kids. So there may be like some sort of self-sacrifice, something that she does.
So you think that they really might kill her off?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's going to be one of those murders, those gruesome murders, like Willie Tyler James or Glenn.
No, I don't. But you think that like she might die in the name of the ultimate sacrifice?
Yeah, like there was this one like shot in the sneak peeks that made me think, this is a close-up. This is her moment. And I think if it comes down to it, she will gladly lay down her life to make sure that her kids could have the potential for a full life. So I'm not saying I'd be mad at that, but I'm not happy about it. Again, it's kind of leading coming to the conclusion we all expect. It's like almost as if people are acting like I was saying before, people are acting like they're giving me a surprise party, but then finding out nobody planned the surprise party. That's really what they're kind of...
My personal feeling is that we are marching to the conclusion that she does something along those lines. And because we are steadily marching towards that conclusion, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like, okay,
They built it up too much.
They've built it up too much. This is what I logically assume we're walking towards. So I'm going to assume that you're going to flip the script on me, and it's not going to be that way because it's too easy to say, like, this is the direction that we're going in. Here we are in this moment. Yep, that's what happened. I have to imagine that it's more complicated than that. I have to.
You know why?
Because I'm conditioned to it at this point.
No, well, yeah, there is that. I think we've been warned. We've been warned by Mel, and I think I said this in the last episode. It's that you never see the bad stuff coming. And I think here in this scenario, there may be something that we can't possibly account for that they're going to try and do that we won't see coming.
To flip the script on us.
Yeah, it's not about her living or dying. There's going to be something else. But he did say you don't really see the bad stuff. So he did say the bad stuff. So we don't know what the bad stuff is, but either way, we won't see it coming. So.
Gosh.
So after the soliloquy, actually, again, this imagery is so on point.
Well, when they open the doors and she's just overwhelmed by the scene of fiery walkers. So I assume we see fiery walkers. We don't see it. We just see Madison's expression.
Oh, well, there's that. But then right after that, it shoots us back to the present.
Yes, and we see the burned out ice cream truck.
Exactly. The imagery is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Just that it's in the foreground and they're coming in from the background.
Mm-hmm.
This is the remnants of what had happened.
Yep.
I just love it. I love the visuals.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good the way they've been shooting these kind of imageries, and we can connect it to the past. They've tied it together very well.
Yeah. Naomi does mention is that the vultures barely scavenge the stadium.
Which is kind of the thing that's so ridiculous about Ennis's plan. How much would you really be able to get from this place based on what you did? You know what I mean? If you're releasing 2,000 some odd walkers, fiery walkers on the stadium, yeah, you might eliminate them, but you're not even going to be able to get stuff anyhow.
I have a theory.
You have a theory? Okay.
You know what my theory is?
Okay. What's your theory?
Ennis and Mel, they're related to Simon.
Oh my God. Oh God, I know, it's like peas in a pod, right?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Negan was that he just wanted, a couple of them to see the effects of what they've been planning, but Simon was all about, let's expunge them. And it's like, yeah, Ennis is like, you know what? But yeah, there is an element of, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him no matter what.
Right.
It's overkill.
It's overkill.
I don't know if he overestimated, or maybe the things that Madison does in the next episode makes it be like, okay, if she didn't do that, it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe
she's buried under rubble.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who really knows?
I tried to I need to look at the previews for next week, but
don't do that.
No, I know, but I'm trying to decipher, because the past is always in color and the present is in gray. And I could have sworn that a scene with her was in gray. So I'm like, if it's in gray, that means that she's in the present.
You're saying, okay.
This is me just trying to do a little deep diving to understand. Wait a second, because she seemed like she was under something or
on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah,
on
so
the grass.
I'm like, I don't remember, but I could have sworn that was like a grayed out sort of, or that kind of washed out sort of imagery, which makes me feel like, is that the present? We have all these planks of wood that you reinforce, or that you try to reinforce the stadium with. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that she very well could be holed up somewhere.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know what? Okay, that's what I'm putting money on. I'm putting money on that she's alive and under rubble.
But do the kids know it?
I don't think so. I think that they think that the same thing with Naomi. I think that they think that they didn't make it out.
But here's the thing. How long has she been trapped under rubble?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how much time has passed since that happened. It's not clear how much time has necessarily passed before they came across them in that road.
Yeah.
And Strand of them. If it had just happened and they had gotten away, we don't know.
There was a lot of people inside those walls that weren't limited. Just so my understanding, my thoughts are that maybe their bloodlust is limited to the people they lost. It's a lot of people and a lot to lose in the stadium. I could see it. It doesn't have to be Madison that dies, but the only thing that I'm sure of is that our group accosted Althea's van for a reason. They were looking for the vultures. No one else is to be found for many, many miles. else except for them, and they've been looking for them for a very long time. It begs the question. It seems like the vultures have been looking for them as well. Maybe.
Perhaps, yeah.
Especially looking for them after they killed Ennis.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And Charlie told Mel about that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Things to ponder.
Yeah, well, I mean, now we're at sneak peeks, and we got quite a few flashes.
Yes, lots of flashes.
In the first scene, we have Madison saying, I've lost everything, I've got nothing left to lose.
Mm-hmm.
The questions we have is like, is she assuming that her kids are dead?
Mm-hmm.
Not just based on Alicia's last words, but, you know, they're covered in walkers, and who knows?
Yeah.
When she has someone at gunpoint in the last flash,
Yes.
like you said, she was on the grass pointing her gun upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. The color isn't very clear.
It's not. So it makes me wonder, is that the past or the present?
Maybe that's the flashpoint. It's like little in between that determines where we are. So, so there's a fire. Yeah. So it seems like there's a firefight at the stadium because Strand is there shooting a gun, and he looks like he's actually shooting a gun or a rifle or machine gun. I think they really did get weapons training.
Yeah.
Althea mentions in one of her videos, she's saying the videos of her, which by the way, you don't often see.
No.
You don't see her on camera, which I didn't really think about until just now. She says one day someone's going to know what happened here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this is also why I'm thinking this is going to be a Althea backstory heavy episode, I think. I think they're not going to give us everything, but they're going to give us a lot of Althea. And I think it's going to throw some things in question. What is Althea? Maybe she does have a lot of layers, as she mentioned in this episode.
Yeah, she did say that.
I like what he says to her just before they ram down the doors of the stadium. And
I know you.
Yeah, I think I know who you are, Althea.
And she's like, you do not know me.
Boy?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I felt. It's like,
I got layers.
Exactly. It's like, shh, you do not know me. You don't know me.
You don't know me.
You don't know me.
From Overwatch.
Dude, people also say that John Dory looks like another character from Overwatch, which he does. Like, because I mentioned it to Eddie, and like he was like, I showed him a picture of John Dory, just saying like, oh, this guy's like really popular on the show and whatever. He's like, that looks like so and so from Overwatch, and then of course he's playing it, so he pulls it up, and I was like, exactly. He's
you need to do another one of those.
I know, I will.
That was really, really good. Very effective. By the way, and Jenna Elfman liked it, even though she's not following us. You know that, right?
Oh my gosh, she is awesome. I actually love her posts too. I just find her so cool.
Well, she's so into the show. It's really great.
She is. I think that she's really loving the dynamic on set and their little family, like their little fear family. And, you know, I think that she's in it. I think she's really totally into it, which is cool. You know, it's really cool to see. No, it's so funny because Eddie was like, I guarantee you on that staff of like production nerds, there's got to be some people that play Overwatch. I was like, I'm pretty sure there's probably a handful of people at least that probably are some gamers in that group. I'm gonna venture.
Yeah. Oh, who knows what they do on their off time too? I'm gonna
go out on a limb here.
The guy that plays Cole Sebastian, he's probably playing the like game. They're like, oh hey Althea, hey, I'm playing.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, what's up, girl?
I mean,
look, I can make you do this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so one thing I did pick out in the flashbacks is that Althea actually has a weapon. She has a machine gun of some kind.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And she's ducking behind, which means she's part of the firefight.
She is participating, yeah.
Yeah, in the stadium. You know, whatever's going on between...
They're going to have to. There's no way that SWAT vehicle, SWAT tank, whatever you want to call it, hashtag SWAT tank, is like surrounded or soon to be surrounded by all these charred walkers. So if they want to make it anywhere out of there and they want to try and get to those medical supplies, they're all going to have to jump into this. Although I wonder if you could just kind of blaze through them. You know, it's like you got a tank, essentially, practically a tank.
You talking about the walkers or?
Yeah.
Or also Alicia's?
Can you just run them over?
Well, I mean... There's not a lot of room to move, too. Like, they get in, they just stop that thing right in the middle of the diamond. They just stopped,
yeah. Because to me, I'm just like, just plow through those things. You know what would be great in the apocalypse, thinking about it? You have to get, like, a dumpster truck.
Well, those things, I don't mess with those things. First of all, they break, in Brooklyn, they just, like, break traffic laws left and right. I don't know if this is a universal thing. And then the fact that they're just unstoppable. If they ram into you, they don't really damage their garbage truck. It's just, you're done.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like...
how big your car is.
Yeah, I want to say like sanitation workers of the apocalypse.
Oh, and by the way, what did Daryl use to ram the sanctuary? A garbage truck. Boom.
Yes, that's right.
Boom.
It was a garbage truck. You're right.
Mic drop.
That is true.
So, I mean, you're
He
right.
also-
You
he
didn't know
also-
you were right, but you're right.
No, but that is true. That is true. I forgot about that. Yeah, you are correct. Yeah, just plow through those things. You have a SWAT tank, and you
what-
have those like missiles that you like pointed at Alicia. Just point them at us.
The turrets.
Yeah, just
If they had missiles, it'd be a little too close.
I know.
Blow up everything.
Yeah, just I'm not an expert at firearms.
What are those? Finger blasters? What? What's a finger blaster?
What are those things?
Yeah, it goes pew pew. Yeah, sure.
Oh, God, sorry. From New York, I bleed blue. I don't know anything about firearms. Anything. No.
Had a drive-by? I mean, I haven't.
I know nothing.
I pretend like I have.
I know nothing, Jon Snow. Nothing.
So they're in the diamond, and it looks like Alicia does bump into Morgan. I'm just here trying to help my friend. So there is a confrontation with Morgan. So far they have not drawn swords, as it were. So every time they've run into each other, if you think about it, he'd been stuck with Nick, and he did that sweet thing on his grave. It seems as they had been close. Alicia had seen that. So this confrontation with Morgan is going to be pretty telling. It's going to be like the yardstick of how far Alicia's willing to go.
How far down the rabbit hole has she gone?
Yeah, and depending on what the outcome is of that confrontation, it's going to set a tone for the rest of the season, I think.
Yeah, I'm in it.
Yeah, man. And then you will see Mel. Mel is in the past. He seems to have made it out of the stadium with Charlie, who seems to be crying. So that's interesting. How does he get the Land Rover from Alicia and Nick, right? Why is Charlie crying? I mean, they're surrounded by walkers, and yet everything seems to be intact.
Right, yeah.
So, wow, I wonder what happens.
How did they get those out of that jam?
Yeah, that complete jam. Alicia's holding a box of some kind and screaming at Al.
Right.
Like, where did you get these? So, okay, do you remember in the SWAT van, in one of the episodes, she mentions to Al something that's in the back, and she says, where did you get these from? And I don't remember what exactly it was, and they kind of glossed over it and moved on. I think this is the same thing.
Really?
Whatever she picks up from that first episode, or the second episode, rather, she's picking it up again, and she's begging Al to ask her where she got whatever it was from. I can't remember what it is right now, and I wish I did. I don't even remember if I said this in Squawking Dead, but I remember it distinctly. It was something that they just kind of say, hey, where did you get this from? Okay, well, whatever. That sort of thing.
Oh, gosh.
And now I want to know what that is, because she's saying that to her now. She's crazy.
She's emphatic. She is livid.
Yeah. Acting is on point, by the way, in that scene, in that little tiny clip. Looks like Madison is barring the doors to the stadium with something. So that seems like, and she's basically saying there are people out there who need me, which means you don't talk to your kids like that. So who is she talking about?
Maybe she means that just the rest of the people there.
Maybe they fled or something?
Yeah, I would imagine chaos ensued.
That's interesting.
I have to imagine.
Well, maybe Cole got them to safety. Because I'd gotten
Cole's a goner.
Yeah, that's my instinct too. But then, I'm thinking to myself, well, obviously he's a goner because he's, Cole.
Yeah.
But maybe again, like the switcheroo. Maybe they did something. Maybe maybe Cole managed to get them away in one of the vulture wagons or something. I don't know.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, me too. This thing is built like a tank in a bank vault. It's exactly.
The door falls off.
I did recall that. Yeah, and the door falls off, and it's like I like that little bit of comic relief that we got from the first episode.
Yeah.
A little bit from Laura, like Latibus, and so all these little things. The Walking Dead also has these little bits of comic relief, or has had it. And,
rarely, but they have.
And it's refreshing. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, we need that.
We need that sometimes. We need that levity.
Yeah. It's fitting that it's Maggie, too, like Maggie Grace.
I like her.
And so the bigger sneak peek that we get from Talking Dead is really, it's like Althea warns the SWAT van passengers that the turrets are about to fire, hold her ears. And John tells Morgan not to go out there because he got him into this. We're talking about the beginning of the season. Like, I kept insisting you join me, and I got you in trouble, and now you're stuck with me. And Morgan says, nah, you got me out of something.
Yeah.
Basically out of his funk.
Yeah, he did. Oh, I'm so glad that they're pals. Mojo
for life.
Mojo for life, yep.
Yeah, no, Naomi wants to come with, but John is meekly protesting. He's saying, don't make me come looking for you. You better come back. The turrets clear the path. Morgan and Naomi jump out. And I love how that shot is framed, too, because it's from the perspective of the stadium, I guess, entrance onto the diamond, onto the baseball field. So it's like not like a full widescreen almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like a 4x3. It's like old television screen. I thought that was kind of interesting shot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's really it.
And there you have it.
The one thing about this episode was that there was just, for me, there was really just some key things I wanted to drill down on, and it was just mostly the whole the Mel Ennis thing, Madison's philosophy versus the Vulture philosophy, the Vultures themselves being not bad guys. There's just some key things. I mean, Strand, really. I did want to drill down into Strand a little because I think it needed to be before we see this new Strand that's more involved and more evolved. But there wasn't really much to deconstruct. It's like a lot of this is action. A lot of this is high-paced. It's intense. There's like little character breaks where you get some really good exposition, but some like little discoveries here and there. But this episode was pretty cut and dry. It's what we wanted more of. We needed more story. We need more links. But now we're in this like intensity sandwich right now, and it's got to play itself out.
It's got to.
You know, I just can't. I can't handle it.
No.
Any Walking Dead news?
We do not necessarily, since Andrew Lincoln's departure news. That was like the big bombshell. Although I will say that I do, for me personally, I don't know if it's an indicator of something or not, but, you know, I follow Christian Serratos, who's Rosita on the show, and I think she's on vacation and she's posting all these pictures, you know, swimming,
modeling,
whatever. So I'm like, are you not filming with everybody?
Oh, well, yeah.
You know, that's usually sort of like, wait, why aren't you on set with everybody else? You know, so I wonder if that is any sort of indication of a fate of her character, which would fall in line with what happens in the comics, unfortunately.
Snap. But, you know, we do see that Rick is filming, or Andrew Lincoln's filming. So
Andrew Lincoln is there, Tara's there, Jesus has been spotted, Jade is, Ezekiel, a lot of them are there, but she is kind of not.
Yeah. So maybe there is a mass slaughter, but maybe it's not many, if any, of what are going to be the main characters of season 9.
Right. I don't know. I mean, it could be nothing.
Serratos.
It could be nothing, but it just kind of is a little odd to me because everybody else is kind of on set and posting pictures.
They're in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. And she is not.
That is a good point, man.
See, always inquisitive nature of me. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am, man. This is who I am.
And it's funny, like, I don't really like many of her photos. It's because, like, it's...
No, because...
I don't really have a connection to that.
No, exactly. But it's like, it was an interesting thing that I just kind of noticed. I'm like, well, wait, you know, you're here, and you're posting all these pictures of you here, but everybody else is here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now I'm going to keep my eyes open. Although I do wonder about Tom Paine, because, you know, the guy plays Jesus.
I have seen pictures of him on set, though.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I have. I've seen him in like the group on horseback and all of that. So he's been there.
Well, I know he's working on other projects too at the same time, with like one with his brother in particular. So there's like an iffiness to his presence and the way he's been taking certain shots. I don't know. I know I have thoughts, but I'm not 100% certain. Because now you got me thinking, like, okay, maybe I should be paying attention.
Conspiracy theory, just saying. Keep your eyes peeled. Could mean something, could mean nothing. But
and you guys keep your eyes peeled too.
Always.
We need your help. And you should subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
I haven't really begged you guys in 10 or so episodes, but we need your help.
I will. I'll beg.
You know, well, I mean, yeah, but we have to do it more frequently than we have been.
To beg more. We have to beg more frequently.
We have to beg more. We have to get on our knees and stop the praying and start the begging.
Yeah.
We're done with the praying. That shit's over. So, with that, everybody, I think it's time that we get our mid-season finale on Sunday. We will leave you with that, and we will talk to you afterwards, calm you down, talk you through the moments. I think I need you to talk me through these moments, Carol, and I think we're going to be fine. It's going to be great.
Hey, we've gotten through worse. We got through Glenn.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And yes, we can.
And yes, we can. Yep.
With that, everybody, we will see you later.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.